And a good morning to you, Lagos. You're welcome. We just clear our throat to start the show. It's Business Express. In the studio with me, I've got Rotus. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Folu. Good morning, Lagos.
Excellent stuff. We are officially inside of Business Express. Please do send us your messages via WhatsApp to the number 0809-444-0981. And you can tweet at us as well. Just use the hashtag BusinessExpress981.
Thank you so much, Folu. We have Muyiwa of Stanbic IBTC in the studio with us. Muyiwa, good morning.
Good morning. Thank
Welcome.
you for having me.
Excellent. Good to have you in here. So, markets were up again yesterday, 0.47%. I believe it was pushed by a late surge, Dangote Cement shares that propped up the market. So this month is still positive, 0.9% for December. However, for the year, we're still down by 18.5%. We had 19 gainers and 18 losers. Vericap Assurance was the top gainer, up by 10%. Cement Company of Northern Nigeria was the top loser, down by 9.7%. And if you're still interested in the Diamond Bank watch, Diamond Bank again, they climbed at 85 kobo now. So if you were brave enough to buy at 65, which I definitely wasn't one of them, you would have seen, what is that, a 30% appreciation or something. So, you know, we'll have to keep seeing how that goes. We're still at about 370 odd naira to the dollar. Muyiwa, help us out with the PMI for the Purchasing Managers Index for November. I believe Stanbic has already pushed out their figures. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so still seeing positive numbers. So it came out at, so there was a slight uptick to 55.5.
Okay.
And it's I think overall showing improved output, new orders, and so even though it's in terms of the new orders and output, it's still lower than the overall year-to-date average. But overall, I think it's showing improved conditions from last year.
Okay.
Even though I think there's still that question of the recovery is still quite weak and not as strong as one would have anticipated, given high oil prices. And I think that really still seems to be the question, in the sense that most of the PMI regions, so not just the Stanbic one, the CBN as well,
right,
continue to print positive figures, but you don't get that sense. And even looking at GDP figures as well, not as strong. But I think the point we're making earlier is that it's not the substitute for GDP.
Thank you.
And
that's what I was
just,
about to ask. So looking at, I guess we're waiting for Q3 now. So we shouldn't try and read too much into this for what we could see for the third quarter of the year for GDP then.
No, we shouldn't. I think what's positive with expectations for Q3 GDP is that oil production is higher. So if you think about Q2, there was some repairs on the Forcados pipeline, and that had a negative impact on overall production for that quarter. And we've seen improvements already in Q3. So if you look at the average production for the period, it's stronger. And I think if you consider that the weakness in the economy has been a contribution of both oil and non-oil sector,
right,
I think overall we should see a more positive performance in Q3.
Okay.
Versus Q2.
Now help out our listeners just once again. The PMI, it's just a survey, yes?
Sure.
Okay.
It's a survey, so there are no numbers. It's literally just yes and no. So
right,
did you sell more this month versus last month? Yes or no. Do you expect to sell more next month? And so it's really just gauging sentiment
from a select number of private sector.
Yeah, so the survey as well, it's about 400 institutions across various sectors as well.
Okay, cool. All right, so this decent for 55.5 for November. Okay, let's move to aviation now, because there was an interesting story that I saw yesterday. Lagos, I don't know if you remember, there was a unfortunate crash in I think it was off the coast of Indonesia last week, where a Boeing 737 Max crashed. About 189 people died. Quickly, Boeing came out, did an investigation. They're now saying that there was they put out a warning saying that there's a sensor in the 737 Max which could cause planes to nosedive. So apparently the sensor can throw off the planes to a point of direction and just cause it to dive and override the pilot's controls. Now, it's a regular story, but what jumped out at me was that back in September, on their website, when they did a media release, they did a deal with Air Peace, which is one of the airlines here in the country, And apparently they said Air Peace announced an order for 10 of these particular planes, the 737 MAX. So I went back, looked up the media release. It was out there. Muyiwa, should there be any, not to alarm anybody or anything like that, but should there be any cause for concern with regards to this particular
he says,
order?
as he makes an alarming
Well,
statement.
hey, I mean, I have, this is our jobs, we have to just let people know about things. They did a deal, so I mean, Air Peace ordered these planes, and now Boeing has put out this warning, and so I mean, going forward,
I won't be concerned more because one, it's an order, so it's not like the planes are already here,
right,
and they're already airborne, and so I think what's positive is that Boeing has observed that they've been able to identify the error, and I think expectation is that it should be adjusted. And I suppose the downside is that the delivery of the planes might be delayed,
right,
and it might affect overall Air Peace international plans. And
exactly, because they are right. Air Peace is actually, they are expanding and they want to go international now. And of course, just to put it out there, these planes are very popular. I mean, they're about, is it the 5,000 or so orders around worldwide. A number of airlines across the world use them. I believe the 737 MAX is supposed to be more fuel efficient than the prior model. So, and Boeing is a big brand. Yeah, you're right. So
my point is warranties should cover
exactly, and all this recall. So anyway, just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Oh, by the way, sorry, there was a report. What was this? The last 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying that the aviation industry in Nigeria, the price points for tickets is too low, that they can't make any margins, and that. So, from your perspective, do you think? I mean, I know about
local aviation,
local, yes. So for local, there was an argument made that okay, look, perhaps prices should have to rise. Not sure how folks who fly here would react to that.
So I think I've read that as well.
Okay.
Right? Suppose it's trying to gauge how prices have increased relative to inflation,
right,
relative to the devaluation as well. Because if you think about the aviation industry, almost all the inputs or it is imported as well.
Right, and in
so
dollars,
they
yeah.
literally depend on foreign currency related inputs, and so it's I think it's understandable to think that margins would be compressed and squeezed.
Right.
But I haven't worked the numbers to compare with US flights. And
right,
I suppose in those environments as well, you have far more passengers.
As opposed to here.
Yeah, so so if you think about the popular destinations in Nigeria, it's Abuja, Lagos, so Lagos, Abuja,
right,
maybe Lagos, Kano, Lagos, Port Harcourt.
Right. So it's not that many.
Beyond those, I don't think you see full flights.
And the cost of the tickets is not really, it's just the taxes, right? So
yeah, so they're also facing lots of taxes as well.
They're really high, and so they're high on us. So what perhaps we should be doing is asking for transparency in how our taxes are being used.
Yeah, so particularly when you think about the state of the airport.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Very true. Okay, let's move on from that to an article here that was written by Mr. Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. He's a retired executive from Pfizer, which in Nigeria became Nimitz International Pharmaceuticals PLC. He wrote, this is an article he wrote, op-ed he wrote in Business Day, the present danger of a relapse into recession. Muyiwa, he pointed to 3 things. He says, one, the focus from governance to politics. He was taking examples of, heads of different areas of government, ministers and so on, working on political campaigns. I think second, he says, because of that, the slowdown in investments from foreign investors. And then third, oil prices. So based on these 3, he pointed to the slowdown in GDP, a number of other things, underemployment, unemployment. Do you think his fears are warranted with where things are?
I think he has a few valid points. I think the first, you'd argue that it's expected that the politicians get distracted when it's closer to elections.
Right.
And so, for me, I'd argue that it's something already most investors would have priced in anyway. So that won't necessarily be a key. So they might decide because of the event risk to slow down investments, but I think ultimately it's more a state of the process and the violence and how that might derail the progress of the country ultimately. I think on the third point of oil, I think that's quite critical given the kind of declines we've seen in oil prices
Right.
in recent times. And I think maybe what's a bit more worrying is that when oil prices were higher earlier this year, you really didn't see
The pass through
yes,
to
it trickled
us,
down
yeah.
into the economy. I think that's what a number of us are still scratching our heads about, trying to figure out where all that
went to.
where that went to.
Okay, all right. Well, Muyiwa Oni of Stanbic IBTC, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us an update on a PMI figure. So positive stuff. We'll see how things work out.
Thank
Folu?
you for having me.
Hey, excellent, excellent.
Thank you very much. We'll round up very quickly with a couple of messages. Gringa Kamu says prices have to rise. That prices have to rise seems to be the only mantra of capitalists in every industry, but no one talks about the quality of services which are not commensurate with the prices already being paid.
All right.
While Ike says perhaps the relatively high tax component of the air tickets can be addressed to make it more profitable for the airlines.
Yeah, Folu just mentioned that.
And Oluzil says on the issue of the Boeing and plane controls, kudos to you and the team for that piece of investigative journalism and keeping us informed. Let's hope that in times when it's required, the airline pilots will be in control.
All right. Thank you for your messages.
Thank you very much, everyone. All right, coming up next, I will be talking to Trudy Kalu,